We've already seen how we can use buttons as navigation controls to move between the various forms in our database. Now I'd like to share a couple of the macros that you can build that will help you connect your forms to your reports. As we've seen in several places throughout Access, sometimes the wizards only present you with the most common options. To get access to all of the available options, you need to dig into the property sheets. The same applies to the button wizards. The actions available in the button wizard only give you a few basic options. To move beyond that, we need to construct the macros ourselves. Let's go ahead and open up our main menu here. And I'd like to add a couple of buttons that print and email some reports. Let's go ahead and right-click on it and go into Design View. In the Controls group, I'll come up here and grab a button object. I'll click on it once, and then come down here and click to start up the Command Button Wizard. Now what I want to do is go into this Report Operations here, and I'm going to choose the action Mail Report. Now this is actually email a report. It's not actually going to print it, put it in an envelope, and put a stamp on it for you. Let's go ahead and say Next. The report I want to send is this Orders by State report. So I'll go ahead and select it and press Next. Here we get the option for a picture or text. I'm just going to choose text, and instead of Mail Report, I'm going to type in Email Orders by State report. Go ahead and say Next, and finish. So there's our first button. Let's go ahead and add one more. I'll click on the button control, and I'll come down here to add one more to my main menu. Once again, the Command Button Wizard starts up. We'll choose Report Operations, and this time I'm going to choose Send Report to File. Go ahead and say Next. This time the report I want to send is the Customer Lifetime Sales. So select it and say Next. And this time the text is going to be Export Customer Lifetime Sales Report. And we'll go ahead and say Finish. So now I've got two buttons here, one that'll email a report and one that'll export a report to a file. Let's go ahead and test it out. I'll go ahead and change my view to Form View. We'll press this button here, and we get a dialog box that asks me how I want to package up this particular report. I can export it as an Excel file or an HTML document or a PDF file. I'll go ahead and select PDF and go ahead and say OK. And when I do that, Access packages up my file, opens up my default email program, which for me is Outlook, and it attaches it to a new email. We can actually improve on this behavior a little bit. Let's go ahead and close out of this email here. If I press Export Customer Lifetime Sales Report, again, it's going to ask me which type of file. This time, maybe I'll choose the Excel file. Say OK. Then it'll ask me, where do I want to put it? Here. Let me go ahead and cancel out of this, and we're going to improve this workflow. Once again, I'm going to right-click on the title bar and choose Design View for the main menu. I'm going to select this first button here and open up the property sheet. And in the Event tab, we'll take a look at the embedded macro that was created by the wizard. I'll click on the Build button here. Now this macro only has a single step. It's the Email Database Object step. If we go ahead and click here, all these fields become active. So in the wizard, it only asked us which report we want to email, and we told it the Orders by State report. But we actually have all of these other options as well that we can fill in here in the macro. For instance, we can specify an output format, so we don't have to choose it from the list every time. If I know that I always want to export this as a PDF file, then I'll just come over here and choose it from the list. We can also specify a recipient here in the To line. So I'm going to type in info@kineticoinc.com. We can specify a carbon copy or a blind copy. We can specify a subject here. So I'm going to type in, here is the Orders by State report. And we can even specify a message body. The report is attached. Let's go ahead and close out this macro and take a look at the other one. I'll go ahead and save the changes here. And we'll take a look at this other button here. I'll click on the embedded macro and I'll press Build. This time the action is Export with Formatting. But once again, we have lots of other options. We can hard code this macro with an output format, so we don't have to choose it every time. I'm going to choose Excel. We can also specify the location here. We can also specify the output location here by typing in the file path on our computer. If we leave it blank, then we'll be prompted every time. I'm just going to go ahead and leave this one blank. Let's go ahead and close this down. We'll save our changes, and we'll now test out the functionality of these new and improved buttons. This time I'm going to click on Email Orders by State report. It packages up the report, creates it as a PDF file, attaches it to a new email, addresses it, and it even fills in the text here. I can add in another message if I'd like, or I can just press Send, and the report is emailed out. The same thing applies to the other button. If I press Export Customer Lifetime Sales Report, it's not going to ask me which type of file to export. It's just going to output it to the specified location that I choose. So by digging into the property sheet and reviewing the button macros yourself, you can have more control and increase the functionality of the actions that your database is performing.